That was tough. It's hard to believe people are treated like that. She seemed so scared.
Yeah, I know. The neighbors told me that she never left the house. I also noticed that the door to her room was padlocked from the outside.
That was a good catch. She might be a victim of human trafficking.
So what happens now?
We're going to interview her as soon as she's stable and go from there.
We appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. I know it hasn't been easy talking about your experiences. Do you have any questions for us?
I don't want leave. You deport me? Boss say I speak with officer, I go.
I understand those are your concerns. Look, we're not immigration officers, but we'll make sure you can talk to someone who can answer those questions for you.
Okay.
Well, today we're talking about immigration laws for victims of crime. We're focusing on human trafficking. We have a panel of experts today from federal law enforcement and state and local law enforcement. Thanks for being here. Let's start right off with human trafficking. What exactly is that? What are we focusing on?
Human trafficking is slavery. It's compelled servitude in which a victim is induced to perform commercial sex, labor, or other services, and they're really being controlled by their trafficker through a variety of means of force, fraud, or coercion. Also, any individual who is a minor under the age of 18 engaged in prostitution in the United States is a victim of trafficking under our laws.
What are the red flags, or what does law enforcement have to try to keep their eyes open for?
Individuals who don't appear to be in possession of their legal documents or their identity documents. Victims who present as being very afraid, submissive, disoriented, unaware of where they are or their situation. Very similar to domestic violence cases, victims who appear to be heavily coached on what to say. If you have a victim of trafficking who's a minor, they may have been coached by their pimp or trafficker to say that, no, I'm actually 21 years old. Or a victim who is encountered in a factory or domestic servitude to be coached to say, no, they actually want to be there, they're being paid well, they're happy in their work environment and their living situation.
What do police officers need to know before they go into that room? What are they trying to learn, and what are they trying to offer the victims to get the best support and the best help for these people?
Well, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We interview people on a daily basis. What we need to know is that we're going to be face-to-face with a unique crime victim that's going to have some additional fears and barriers in place that are going to keep them from feeling comfortable sharing information with us. So I think it's, again, really important for us to recognize our role and get our role out there in the open early on in this process, in this interaction with the victim, that we're not here to worry about your status. We're not here to check your papers. We're here because we're investigating a crime.
And I'm sure a lot of these people, too, are afraid they're just going to be sent back. You know, they're not going to be able to stay in this country. What kind of immigration relief may be available for somebody who's undocumented and they're a victim of crime?
A victim is identified. There's three basic forms of relief that they can request or file for in order to assist law enforcement in that investigation or prosecution that's taking place. One of them would be continued presence. Another is the T visa, and the other is the U visa.
Continued presence is the first form of immigration relief that's available to a victim of trafficking who's not otherwise admissible to the United States, so someone who's here and is undocumented. And it's essentially just like it sounds. It allows a victim of trafficking to continue to remain present in the United States, provided that they're a victim and they are a potential witness in an investigation. It is designed to be a tool for law enforcement to keep someone who is a victim of trafficking but also a potential witness in their case around in the United States when they may not otherwise be able to stay here legally. In addition, once they have continued presence, you have not only that short-term form of immigration relief, but you have it connected to other services that serve to support and stabilize that victim.
So you talk about continued presence, and you mentioned the T visa and the U visa. What's the T visa and the U visa? How do they differ from the continued presence?
The T visa is a longer-term form of immigration relief that's initially good for up to 4 years. The criteria are that, like continued presence, a victim has to be a victim of trafficking. Victims also need to be cooperating with law enforcement requests for assistance in the investigation, and they also need to be physically present in the United States due to the trafficking or due to the subsequent investigation into the trafficking activity.
Where the U visa differs from the T visa, the U visa does include human trafficking as one of the qualifying crimes. However, the U visa also has many other qualifying crimes where someone could be a victim of those crimes and potentially be eligible for the U visa.
Okay, and is there a place you can find a list of the crimes that qualify for this?
There is. There's actually the DHS U visa resource guide, which the Department of Homeland Security put out, has the list of the crimes, and it also is a great resource for any law enforcement agency. We have frequently asked questions that are in there on the certification process, the list of crimes, what law enforcement agencies are doing when they sign the certification, what they're not doing, their rights, roles, responsibilities. All that's included in that law enforcement certification.
So why is it important for officers to have the knowledge of human trafficking and the immigration relief that's out there to help with these cases? Why is that knowledge so critical?
It's so important for us because we're missing the boat across the country with this. We don't have this knowledge, and we're not identifying these underserved crime victims. We're not identifying these very dangerous perpetrators that are out there in our community. And we're about community safety. We're about victim safety, and we want to go home to our families at night. And so the realization comes in real fast when you start to see the perpetrators that are committing these kind of crimes, that these are dangerous offenders. And if you look at the law enforcement officers that are killed in the line of duty, murdered in the line of duty across this country every year, you can make a connection to a lot of the crimes that this kind of relief covers. So it's a big benefit to us to keep us safe out there on the street as well.
I think we also can't overstate how critical crime victims are to the outcome and success of our criminal investigations and subsequent prosecutions. Victims of trafficking and other types of violent crime have so many vulnerabilities, and one of the vulnerabilities we tend to overlook is this lack of legal immigration status. So if we can address, at least in the short term, the immigration status issues, we can get a little bit closer to a victim who feels safe and secure so that they can embark on that journey to becoming ultimately a witness in the investigation who can be credible and reliable and support the case.
And there's no better feeling when you start the process and identify one of these crime victims and identify and apprehend one of these perpetrators, and then you work together with your federal law enforcement counterparts, and in the end, sometimes you uncover other victims that weren't initially identified at that case, and you take, one or more of these violent criminals off the street as a team effort. And that's what it's all about. It's all about the collaboration between state and local law enforcement officers and our federal law enforcement counterparts that are there to help us do our job.
All right, thank you so much for all the information that you shared today. And for the officers who are watching, if you have any more questions, if you need to know about more resources, you can go to the Department of Homeland Security's Blue Campaign.